My name is Bernie Hayes. I'm the Master of Ceremony for this evening, and I'd like to start the program off with one word. Hirsch. Got it? Hirsch. It's going to be a good program. And we're not here to mourn Dick Gregory. We're here to celebrate Dick Gregory.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we've watched was so gallantly streamed, and the rockets hurled there, the bombs bursting in air, gave through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
We were asked just to say a few words at this moment, and I guess I will leave, you may be seated, brothers, we may leave you with this quick story as we reflect on his legacy and life and we celebrate that. Years ago, some scientists did a horrible experiment on some dogs. They took 20 dogs and put them in a room and divided that room in half with a little small fence. Now, 10 of those dogs they chained to the floor while the other 10 roamed around free. And then they would allow electrical shocks through the floor to sting their paws. Now, the dogs that were free jumped over to the other side of the room where there were no shocks. But the dogs that were chained sit there and stood there in misery because they could not move out of their painful situation. And this horrible experiment went on over and over and over hundreds of times. And then finally, at the end of the experiment, they released the 10 dogs that had been previously chained. And the dogs that had been previously free, they remained free. And the same scenario happened again. All the dogs on one side, they started to shock the floor. The dogs that had been free simply jumped over to the other side. But now the dogs who had been chained all these other times stayed on that same side and just agonized in misery because they were free physically, but in their mind, they were still chained. And if we're going to really celebrate his life, let's leave here free. Free to know that our mind, we're not stuck in the past or what was put on us or we had to suffer through. And because some of us have been through so much and the pain was so severe, it's keeping us from jumping over to the next level. Because we still rather complain about what happened than to plan and take advantage of what could be. The reality is, my friends, we have opportunities we've never had before. And what are we going to do with those opportunities? Are we going to spend that time complaining about what happened back then? Or are we going to come together as a people, pool our resources, and find a plan that's going to take us to the next level? So as we celebrate, let's leave here not just physically free, but mentally free as well. That may lead to financial freedom and all other kinds of freedoms. May God bless you and may God keep you.
Great words, wonderful words from a wonderful man. You know, this is a wonderful, wonderful event, wonderful occasion. And it was in the minds of these two young ladies I'm going to introduce to you now to make this tribute, to have this tribute to an icon, to a who's now a saint. The persons responsible, co-chairs, Stephanie Miles, Erica Brooks. I would like to tell you what's in my hand after they do their presentation.
Good evening again. Good evening. Thank you. I feel welcome now. Jesus is the Lord. Amen. The Lord be magnified. Yes. I start off saying that because that's a reminder to me that I must decrease and allow Him to increase. So I pray that you receive that as well. Welcome to this tribute to the legacy, life and legacy of Richard Claxton Dick Gregory. God gave me the opportunity to interview him on my television broadcast, Smiles TV, Channel 984, 8 o'clock p.m. God gave me the opportunity to interview him, and he told me and reminded me that he was the first official African American to run for president. You know, I named Shirley Chisholm, who's my sorority sister, and others. But he reminded me that, no, honey, I was the first. So there's so many more stories that we could tell you, but my purpose today is to simply welcome you. And we welcome you, and we pray that you take part in this and listen to what you're about to hear and be blessed. And now, Miss Erica Brooks, you know, we're supposed to be co-hosts. She did all the work. I called her on the phone and said, we need this or that. No, Erica, she's such a hard worker, and I was just grateful to be able to work with her, and I learned so much from her. And so I'll give it to Miss Brooks now.
I want to say good evening to everybody. It's a blessing to see so many good faces here. I want to thank God for allowing you to make this a part of your evening. It's an awesome honor to be standing here because I had the opportunity to meet Mr. Gregory several times and capture him. I can tell you just one story here. One day, Mr. Ron Gregory, his brother, allowed me to take photos of Dick Gregory for a day. So this is October 26, 2013. We started off at Goody Goody in St. Louis eating breakfast. And it was pretty amazing because I heard of him, I'd seen some things about him, you know, but I really didn't know this vernacular, right? You know, how he talked, you know. So we're talking, and I said, you know, Mr. Gregory, you didn't tell me he was an educated Dolomite. I mean, for all y'all know who he is, you know, you had to get it in. But he is so deep and profound to where I was telling Mr. Gregory earlier that it's a mythology that he has that it goes beyond the presence of being where you at, but just going to the forethought of the back of your mind, have to really think and understand what he's talking about. So that's how much he captured my mind that day, from breakfast all the way to when he had his show. And I thank God for making me present with him for that day, as well as the other days that I had the opportunity to capture him. But like I said, I want to welcome you all for being here. I want to thank every participant that said yes. I want to thank everybody on the back. I'm going to start thanking some people. I'm going to get in trouble, but I'm going to do it. I want to first of all thank the City of East St. Louis for allowing us to be in this building, to have a location to commemorate him. Please give him a hand, please. Please. I want to thank every staff member that put a hand into this day, making it successful. I want to thank Mr. Gregory, Mr. Ron Gregory, for allowing Stephanie and I, thank you, for allowing Stephanie and I to have this opportunity to have such a huge task, you know. I want to thank Stephanie Miles, my co-chair, for working with me and working together to make this a success. Thank you. I want to thank Mayor Alvin Parks, Township Supervisor, who allowed us to have some chairs and tables today. Yes. Or you all would have been standing up in some places back there. I wanted to make sure, I said, I'm going to be taking a minute, but I want to thank these people. I want to walk, I know how it feels not to be thanked for just being a part of some things. And I want to make sure I thank the people here this evening. I want to thank the East St. Louis School District 189 for their Air Force Junior ROTC program. It's been an excellent job. I want to thank the East St. Louis Senior High School Choir that came here and sang this evening as well. I want to thank Mr. Bernie Hayes, the legendary Bernie Hayes. Like he could be anywhere tonight, but he's here to St. Louis helping us right now. Well, thank him so much. I want to thank Pastor Kendall Granger for being here, wearing two hats this evening. I want to thank Mary Emeritus Gordon D. Bush, who's here. Thank you so much. I want to thank Mayor Officer for being here to speak on his relations as well. I want to thank Sylvester Sunshine Lee for being here. I want to thank Minister Ralph Muhammad for being here. And I want to thank the media. Channel 2 is here. Thank you so much. They've been running this program. I don't know how many of you all seen it on TV this morning. Raise your hand. How many people saw it on TV today? I want to thank you very much for getting us out there so our community can come here and commemorate Mr. Dick Gregory. Thank you so much for all your coverage. Thank you. And I want to thank the East St. Louis Monitor that ran in the paper as well. I want to thank the St. Louis American, the Bellevue News Democrat, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, KMOV, KSDK. I want to thank Ms. Gloria Lockett, Good Food Bakery, we're about to partake in later on. Yes, I want to thank my mom, Doria Swanson, who's helping back there. She's helping my son and my brother. That's also helping. I want to thank Mr. Belford right here with Harold Laurie program. I want to thank all the photographers that came out here today to capture this moment. If I forgot anybody, I'm sorry, but I want to get this program started, and thank you and welcome once again.
Thank you, Erica. I know Dr. Ron Gregory will be talking to you about the Dick Gregory calendar when he comes up, but I want to remind you that they are for sale right over there. But he'll talk more about the calendar. Also, Zaki Barudi, Zaki, just stand so they can see you. He brought his paper, African News World. Also, Final Call, Mr. Muhammad. That is the crew. They'll be in the room. And there's so many people here that I want to recognize, but if I recognize just 3 or 4, the 10 that I didn't recognize would be very, very mad. You know, I call Peggy LeCompte. Peggy LeCompte, you see, it's Peggy Lewis LeCompte. Reginald Petty, I mean, just so many people here. But anyway, let's get on with the program, okay? Because as the names come to me, I'll call them as I see them. Well, anyway, it's time to pay tribute to Dick Gregory from the former mayor of East St. Louis, at one time the youngest mayor in the United States of America. He is now a businessman, and he is recuperating from a little illness, but he came down here to pay tribute to Dick. Would you please welcome former Mayor Carl Officer, the Reverend Carl Officer.
Thank you very much, my good friend and Kappa brother. You know, I got a call from Steffi last week to invite me to this magnificent affair. But before I make any comments about Dick and what he meant to East St. Louis and to the community on both sides of the river, the nation, and the world as a whole, let me thank both Erica and Stephanie In lieu of today's news, what we hear every day, a drumbeat of irreverent, irrespectable content on the news media, you are two shining beacons of professional journalists that I am proud to say come from East St. Louis, Illinois, and to see what you have been able to accomplish here tonight says volumes. I wouldn't worry whether or not Channel 4, 5, 11, CNN, MSNBC, or Fox News comes, long as your folks know you were here. And as long as you know who your God is and they know where you are, you have made him smile. Dick Gregory, the one that I knew, I was just teasing Gordon, Mayor Bush. There's a lovely picture of Dr. Bush on the back of this program. He and Mrs. Dunham, I laughed, Mrs. Dunham was in the wheelchair. She was on a hunger strike when Dick came to visit her. Wayman Smith was there and some others. I had the privilege of taking Dick Gregory back to St. Louis that afternoon. And is that true? Nobody was closer to Sunshine to Miss Dunham than I was. She's the only person I know going home to take game week. I swear to God that Dick was teasing her there at the hospital at St. Mary's. Dick Gregory's legacy to young men like me, seeing him on television before there was a Bill Cosby on television, before there was any other African American or that time Black American or Negro colored man on TV, there was Dick Gregory. Then to have remembered the opportunity to know that he went to the same university that I had the privilege of graduating from, Southern Illinois University at Carbondale. Then having the privilege of meeting him here in St. Louis and getting to work with him, getting to know him was an honor. But more than that, as a grown man, I can look back on the times that we had conversations about the important things of life. Many of you know that I'm in the funeral business. I know about life and death. Dick forego millions of dollars to care about the planet, the people that live on it, and more importantly, the creator of it all. He cared about God and God's people. And to me, that struck me more than anything that he had ever accomplished in life. And I have to say one quick note as I go to my seat. One night I've got to leave because I don't, my daughter's going to choke me. I got to take her home and do homework. He made a great revelation to me, Brother Gregory. We were driving over the Poplar Street Bridge. We just left Mrs. Dunham's home on 10th Street. I was a young man. Gordon was the mayor at the time, and I thought that I was going into a new phase of life. Reverend Grange, I was getting ready to study seminary, and I was on my way to study in Israel and Egypt. And Dick shared something with me that made life a lot easier for me. He told me that he was rushing home to see his wife because he could afford to take her out now because she was over 55 years of age, and so he could get the senior citizen discount. And he was going to be taking her to the movies and the dinner. I couldn't wait till I got to be 55. I went and found me a girlfriend that was 55, Bernie. And I'm happy now to announce that I've got a good one at 61, and I'm taking her to movies and to dinner. In East St. Louis, in this metropolitan area, we have a lot to be thankful to God for, but we have much more to thank Him by knowing Dick Gregory came this way, I urge you to buy not only one calendar, but many calendars and share them not only this year, but throughout the years to come. And one final note, Dick would have said this, I'm sure. He and I both admired a guy by the name of Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass, if he were today, he would use one final epitaph, and I'm sure Dick Gregory would do the same, and that is agitate, agitate, agitate.
Thank you, Reverend Officer. You know, there are several speakers on the program, and that does not indicate their importance because each is as important as the other. It just happened that their names came in certain ways. The next speaker is a man who took care of me a long time ago. He still takes care of me, actually. He was the mayor of St. Louis. He's now Mayor Emeritus of East St. Louis. Please welcome my dear friend, Gordon Bush. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. One more time. Good evening. Is this the festive occasion? Yes. All right. We're proud of all of you here. And thank Brother Mayor for those remarks, Mayor Officer. Sorry to be a little bit late, but I'm delighted to be here. And first, I'd like to commend a young lady who is very diligent, very intelligent, very hardworking. Can you hear a little better? Yeah. Hardworking. Where's Miss Erica? Let's give her a round of applause. She worked so hard on this, and it shows. That's one of the least. I think I had to park out on the street somewhere down the street. So many of you here, and we're just happy that you are here. We're proud to be part of it. I'd just like to say, and I will remember what Brenda told me, to remember to be brief, be respectful, and in a minute I'll tell you what the last B was. I'll tell you in a minute. But as Mayor Officer, I think he was very adroit and very much on time with his remarks, and I'm just proud of everyone who's being honored here and all of you to be here to honor them. And I may have to give Erica a raise after this, because she can gather this many people of integrity, and I'm looking around and seeing everybody's, Erica, this is a nice turnout. Let's give yourselves a round of applause. Give Erica a round of applause for what she's doing here. So I just wanted to just say hello. I wanted to say thank you for what you've done. One of the things that Dick Gregory, I don't know where his picture is here. Erica, did you have a picture of him? Yeah, it was a different kind of picture I was talking about.
It's in the program.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in the program. The one that's speaking into my,
Yeah.
He's coming down.
Okay. Yeah, okay. On the back page of the program, there's a photo. The Mayor Officer, I think you're on this photo too. I think you're next to Wayman Smith, but you're right back there. But Dick Gregory was a prime mover to talk to Miss Dunham about stopping the fast and looking out for her health. She had been warned by a number of doctors, medical people, that she needs to stop that. She's too advanced in age to try to do something like that. But that's how much she loved East St. Louis. That's how much she loved the Haitians. Some of you may not know what was behind her fast. But President of Haiti was here, and we were proud that he was here on an occasion.
But what was happening was in America, we were turning around. The Haitians were able to get on boats and try to come into our country. They're being turned around. And our government did nothing about that. And one of the things that Mrs. Dunham was concerned about and told me one night, she called me and said that a man named Bill Clinton is running for president. He's down in Carbondale. I want you to go down there and talk to him and tell him that I, Catherine Dunham, want him to, if he wins for president, and when he wins for president, stop turning the Haitians back around in the water and let them come on into America like other countries let their people come into America. That's what she wanted, fair treatment for the Haitians. They were being disrespected, and it was really egregious to what they were doing. She found out briefly that Clinton was down in Carbondale speaking to students. While very young came to my office, Catherine Dunham called, said, I want you to go down and tell Clinton, candidate President Clinton, what's happening down there. And I want to support him, but I want to know, would he do things differently that's being done now? So I said, okay, I go down. I said, Clinton can't win. Clinton's down in Carbondale talking to students down there because he can't get any politicians anywhere in the state of Illinois to endorse him behind the Monica Lewinsky episode. So he was written off. He's down talking to students in Carbondale. She told me, I called Brenda, I said, Brenda, baby, I don't feel like going down there. She said, who wants you to go? I said, Miss Dunham, go. Miss Dunham said she wants you to go. Go. That's my lovely wife. I almost said boss, but I get them confused. But, she said, go down there and talk to Clinton and ask him if he wins, would he turn around the policy of turning the Haitians back out and not letting them come into the country. So I went down there, and Rodney Slater, his transportation secretary at that time, he was Secretary of Transportation for the state. Rodney Slater saw me and called Clinton off the stage and said, yes, Mayor Bush. He put his hands on my shoulders. He said, Mayor Bush, I'm down in Carbondale because nowhere in the state of Illinois can I get an audience to speak to. So I'm talking to the students down here. Put his hands on my shoulder and said, if I win for president, I would want you somewhere on my staff or position. I said, I'm not asking for that. I just came down here to try to help you a little bit. Long story short, you called me up on the podium, you told the speaker, in your speech, you got the mayor of East St. Louis wanting to say something. I said, oh Lord, I'm not prepared to make a speech for this man running for president. But I think the Heavenly Father touched me, and I made a very eloquent speech. And after then, he embraced me and said, Mayor Bush, you're the only mayor in the state of Illinois who has made a speech for me. And when I win, he said, because I'm going to win, I'll never ever forget you. And that's how I got to know President Clinton, through Miss Dunham insisting that I go down there. But I'm just saying she was such a wonderful, inspirational person. And one of the things that I don't like to see when I go up to Edwardsville, many of you have been up there, the building next to the library, over to your left, it has the Dunham building on it. And there are none of any of her remnants or anything that she had, souvenirs, nothing in that building. They got classes they're teaching, all kind of things. And up on the building, Dunham building, but nothing, not one picture of her in there. And we need to do something about that. I'm going to talk to the president and chancellor, and I think we may need to organize to do something, to at least have something in there to reflect Ms. Dunham, with the name Dunham building up there with nothing in there about her. I don't know how it happened, but it's time for it to change. I am so inspired by this wonderful group here, and Brenda told me, Gordon Bush, if they put a mic in your hand, remember the 3 B's. To be respectful, to be brief, and to be seated, which I shall now be seated. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Thank you, Mayor Bush. Thank you so much. I called Reggie Petty's name earlier. Reggie, just brave up and stand up here. He and Dick Gregory were roommates in college, And his wife, Miss Betty, is not only an artist, but I don't know if y'all know about the quilts that she made. Unbelievable. We want to say thank you to all the Bettys. The next, it's so nice to know everybody, all the speakers I know personally. And this is really an honor. And this next gentleman I've admired so many times, and he's entertained me so much. And he's such an inspiration, not only to young people, but to all people. Would you please welcome Sylvester Sunshine Lee.
Sunshine.
Thank you, Ronnie. Appreciate it.
Sunshine.
Good evening to my brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum. It is a pleasure being here before you today, and to the host, Stephanie. Erica, thank you so much. I got that call like Gordon Bush late at one night to say, would you be a part of this program? So I thank you. To my brother Ron, Pastor Granger, Brother Ralph Muhammad, thank you for being a wonderful brother to me as well. To all of you, brothers and sisters, I don't know how to begin. Let me start by beginning, because my wife used to say to me, every time this brother come to town, I get arrested. Every time. Let me say that louder. Every time he come to town, I get arrested. Amen? That was my brother, And let me tell you how it started. I was at home and cutting the grass on a Saturday, my daily chores. My wife called me to the phone and said, Miss Catherine Dunham said that she want to talk to you. Naturally, I thought that she wanted to do a show, or she wanted me to play somewhere. And so I grabbed the phone. She said, Sunshine, do you know about this fast that I'm doing? I said, yes, ma'am, I know. She said, I need for you to be here. Channel 2, Channel 4, Channel 30, everybody's here. I need for you to be here. Get your drum. And I want you to open up the program for us. I said, huh? She said, get your dashiki and get on over here. So immediately I went in the house and changed my little outfit and ran down to 10th Street. I went upstairs. When I got there, Aaron Walker said, Miss Dunham, won't you upstairs? I went upstairs, and Miss Dunham was there, Big Gregory was there, a few other people, the mayor was there, and other people, and I want to know where I fit in this. I was cutting grass. And so I went in. Miss Dunham said, Sunshine, I want you to go downstairs, and there's a stage down there, and I want you to play your drums and play a rhythm that bring us together. You know several of them. Play it and then introduce me from the window there. I said, why me? Why me? And she said, I want you to do that. And when you do that, come upstairs, I need to talk to you. So I did that and got it all finished and introduced Miss Dunham. She started speaking from the window. I immediately went upstairs, and it was not a good meeting with my brother, Dick Gregory. I got to tell you, family, it was not a good meeting, because Miss Dunham had said to me that Sunshine is an activist in the city of East St. Louis. And I came there with my tam on, my dreadlocks, Brother Zaki. I went upstairs, Brother Ron, and he said to me, oh, that is hoodlum is right there. And I said, hoodlum? I said, brother, who you talking to? He said, oh man, come on, sit down. And we got to talking. And there was 12 or more people in that room, and Dick Gregory was laying out the strategy. How are we going to get arrested the next day? He said, we're going to bring the light to East St. Louis. So you brothers can, get your walking shoes on because we finna get arrested. And I'm going to tell you how we're going to get arrested. And we're going to cause a problem in the city of East St. Louis for our sister that we love, Madam Catherine Dunn. And so we began to talk strategy, 12 people in that room, and we started talking about how we're going to get arrested. And only 3 showed up the next day. 5 o'clock in the morning, only 3 people showed up. Me, Dick Gregory, and Cleo Willis. Dick Gregory said, it don't matter. One would do. One would do. He said, you brothers, here's a change, here's a lock. We going over there to the federal building. And we gonna lock up the federal building. Me? He said, is that the FBI building right there? And now I'm shaking, yeah. The FBI building, yeah. And so we went over there and Dick Gregory locked Cleo Willis up and I was next. He locked me on the door, then he locked himself on the door and he said, brother, you might as well get comfortable because we may be here 10 in the morning. And so that was the beginning of our relationship. And we moved from there and got arrested. The next following day, went before the court. And then the next day, Pearson Bush, who was our lawyer, got us out. Civil disobedience. Civil disobedience, not a felon. Civil disobedience. But anyway, the next day, it was the federal building. Now you got the FBI building right next to the federal building, Pastor. And he said, we're going next door to get arrested, huh? And so we got arrested there. And that was a continuum. We went to New York. We went to St. Louis. We went to several places. And there was 3 of us. We called ourselves the bad boys, Dick Gregory, Cleo Willis, and Sunshine. And every time we got arrested, the news media, the light came to East St. Louis. As Mayor Bush said, it was about the Haitian people who was denied to come to America. President Aristide, I had a chance and opportunity to meet him, who was put out of Haiti, and he talked about what he was going through there. And so we all became family. We got arrested in New York with Amos Young, Jonathan Demme, Harry Belafonte, and others. I got arrested, and we stayed in the jail for a half a day. They came and got us in limousines. I got out of jail big style, in limousines. And so we came back to East St. Louis, and every time we got arrested, Ms. Dunham had something else for us to do. The last final place we got arrested was in East St. Louis. We was put in St. Clair County under marital justice. We went into prison and we stayed a minute and we was going to stay overnight. And of course we was all fasting and Big Gregory said to deny your food. We was in jail. And the brothers that was in the jail with us, they denied their food too, Brother Bernie. And we all fast. The brothers just came together and wrapped their arms around us. We prayed together in jail. And then he said to us, let's deny our food. So the brothers told the innkeepers there, we don't want it. And we all bagged off the food. The next following morning, we was put out of jail. Mayor Justice came down himself and said, you 3, come here. Dick Gregory, you, come here, son, come here. All 3 of y'all, get out, bump and jump. Get your stuff, come on, get out. And so that was my friend, my brother, Dick Gregory. And every time that we shared words of wisdom together, you know what I mean, I certainly enjoyed him because he showed me how to be an activist, true activist. He said, you don't need a lot of people. One would do if he had the right application in his mouth. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Son John. You know, if we couldn't get messages to one another across the river, Sunshine would play his drums. He sends signals all the way to St. Louis and Florida, South County, wherever. Count on Sunshine. I think James Matthews, I saw him here earlier. I know he stole some of his licks. Stole some of Sunshine's beats. Ironhead, I know you're here. The newspaper that I showed you earlier, The Final Call, think about what that says. This could be. This could be the final call. It certainly could be.
That's right.
There are papers for you in the rear. Hello, Bobby. I want to introduce the man who brought those papers to you. Always been a fighter. Always has been a loyal, respectful, and energetic leader in not only the African American community, but the community at large. Would you please welcome to our podium the Honorable Minister, Ralph Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger, and I greet you all again in a nation greeting of peace and of paradise. Of Assalamu alaikum. So as the beloved of God, everybody all right? All praise is due to Allah. Let's give our presenters and those who set the program up a round of applause, because it takes a lot to get us out. You know, and I was pleasantly surprised when I got here to see the crowd so early. You know, usually we kind of get here a little late, but we got here early today. So that's always a blessing to do that, especially when you come to respect a man like Dick Gregory. And to Ryan Gregory and his family, it's just an honor to be here. I mean, historically, when you talk about great men like Dick Gregory and Kwame Ture and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, of course, right? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, all the great warriors that we stand on their shoulders, and going way back even before then, Crispus Attucks and all those. We are blessed. You know, people may not look at us being blessed, but we're blessed. And I know surely I'm blessed to be able to be around men like the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, to meet Dick Gregory, Kwame Ture, Khalid Muhammad. You know, the list can go on. I've just been blessed from a little place like this. So God is merciful. And I thank the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for being the kind of man he is, to shape the kind of men that we are. All praise is due to Allah. Just a few words, you know, I know some of y'all get nervous when Muslims come up. Y'all get all turned inside of yourselves and say, what the hell? What does Assalamu alaikum mean anyway? Yeah, just a greeting means peace. And Lord knows we need peace in the hood, man, you know, more than any place, right? And we walk hard like that. You know, we the FOI, we the Freedom of Islam, and we represent like that. And we don't have a problem with going nowhere, taking care of the business as it should be taken care of. Everybody understand that? So I don't have to call no names, right? But we thank Allah, again, for men like Dick Gregory and his brother Ron, he's someplace walking around, but he's a great reminder of his brother. You know, and when Minister Farrakhan, I don't know if you saw this, when he gave the eulogy for Dick Gregory, if you haven't saw it, go on YouTube. And you watch the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, how he has so much love for Dick Gregory. I mean, Dick Gregory met with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, whether you know that or not. You know, he was a man of renown. And I was just sitting in my seat saying, how profound is he? As Carl was saying earlier, I said, you know, when I was a young man, he was a comedian. You know, a heavy set man. You know, Dick Gregory, we used to look at TV. He had his own TV show back in the day, right? And all of a sudden one day, you know, he changed his whole scope, his whole perspective. So don't say you can't change and become a better human being. You know, we sit here like Forrest Gump waiting for the bus. And you know, where you're going is right down the street, just get up. And when Forrest Gump discovered that, he got up and started running. Is that not right? Y'all didn't see the movie, did you? You got to get up and start running, right? Because those here tonight, and I'm looking around the room, it's not a whole lot of young folks here. You got to start looking for young people. I mean, I'm telling y'all just like it is, right? And most people I know in this room, y'all ain't getting no younger. Include myself, right? So it means you got to go get somebody. They should hear this. They should know Reginald Petty and the things that he's accomplished in his life. And just to know him is an honor. To know a Ron Gregory, to know a Gordon Bush, to know a Honorable Carl, just to know these people, right? But if our young people don't know this, right? They go with what they know. You know what I'm saying? You know what they do. You know what I'm saying, right? And I know Zaki had a thing once, it was cute, but it didn't work real good. He said, pull up your pants, something like that, right, brother? Right.
Pull up your pants.
And you know, I said, well, if they pull up their pants, and if you can pull up your mind first, then you can pull up your pants. Is that all right? Right, so Dick Gregory's that kind of a man. And I met Dick Gregory real quick. I know I'm not going to be long, but I met Dick Gregory back in 1972 by accident. I was going to SIU for whatever reason, I don't even know. Because I wanted to go to Tuskegee, but I ended up going to SIU, right? But he had came to be a speaker. And we were standing around in a circle after he got through speaking, and he was asking people when they were born. They give him a date of birth, and he'll tell them all about themselves. I said, what does this man know that I don't know? Right? I'm an older freshman, but he inspired me just about what he knew. So I said, Mr. Gregory, what are you talking about? He said, it's called numerology. It's the study of numbers. And I was impressed by the way he took the time to talk to all the students. And that was in 1972. I had no idea at that time that I would end up in the Nation of Islam, being able to see him again from a different perspective and learn more and more from a man like Dick Gregory. And so I listened to Brother Sunshine real briefly, right? You know, I remember those days that y'all were doing that, right? And, you know, Dick wasn't a selfish man. You know, Minister, he broke that, he was a loving man. You know, and anytime you get a chance to embrace men on this level, you sit down and have a conversation with them. Don't let life pass you by because you say, Farrakhan is a Muslim, I don't hang out with him. Now, y'all, that's crazy as hell. These are black men, right, and black women, right, who got knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And we need to sit down with them and learn from them, right, so we can better prepare our children and our community and our nation, you know, for a better future. Because it's not over till it's over. Is that not right? Right? And Dick Gregory's life, so his life won't be lived in vain.
That's right.
This is a profound brother. To go from a comedian to who he is today. I said today, he's not gone. His spirit remains among us. And he'll live forever, right? So again, as I don't ask a preacher to come up to say a few words, is that right, Robert Ray? We try to be short, but I just wanted to say those words, and I thank again Sister Stephanie and Sister Erica. You know, she will worry you to death, right? She will call you up and say, "My Minister, do you know Dick Gregory?" I said, "Of course." She said, "Well, we have a so-and-so. Could you help us out a little bit?" And then she'll call you back the next day, and the next day, and the next. You can't say no, right? But she's a good people, and Stephanie's a good people, right? Let's embrace our community and make it a better place to live. Thank you. May Allah bless you. I love you. Assalamu alaikum. And this brother here, this brother right here. Yeah. Soul Shack. Yeah, little Soul Shack, yeah. He's a great man. We should learn from him. Yeah. Right? As he gets younger, we want to get all that he got to give back to us.
Very kind. Thank you so much. Thank you, Minister. You know, so many people here who had association with Dick Gregory. Bob Lawrence, Bob and Paper Sack, you know, one of the great comedians of our time. He was going back a long, long way. I see Jesse Lofton over there. Jesse's now heading the corps. He's trying to hide from everybody. Jesse, stand up so everybody can see you. We know your name is Jesse. Stand up, Jesse. Jesse Lofton. He heads the East St. Louis branch and the regional branch of CORE, Congress of Racial Equality. You talked about Catherine Dunham a lot tonight. The next gentleman I'm going to introduce was Catherine Dunham's right hand and her left hand and her walking stick and her inspiration. He was Catherine Dunham's heart and soul. He is now teaching. He's the poet emeritus. Oh, is it emeritus? Not emeritus. Poet laureate. Poet laureate. He's. It would take me 20 minutes to introduce this next person. So just kind of skip to the chase and know how great he is. Dr. Eugene Redmond. Militant talent.
Good evening again. I have one anecdote. Now, Catherine Dunham has been invoked and evoked so many times. And in the winter of 1968, I had the humble honor of managing Ms. Dunham's traveling company. And we toured the East Coast, including 16 high schools in Connecticut. Just as we were approaching JFK Airport on the bus, the snow, which had been coming for several days, just thickened, and the bus ground to a halt, snow up to the windows, bus full of dancers and drummers, and we even carried our seamstresses along with us so they could either repair or create new outfits. Anyway, we were stuck there in the snow for 2.5 days. People were dying around us in cars. Diana Ross and the Supremes and the Beatles were stuck in the airport. We were only about from here to across the street from the airport, but the bus ground to a halt. Our team consisted of some very brilliant people, many of whom have gone on to do important things and remain in the struggle. But I do want to point out Valerie Adams. Stand up, Valerie. Who was one of the dancers, in fact, a principal dancer of Miss Dunham's indigenously developed troupe. So that's a little story about Miss Dunham. I encountered Dick Gregory all over the world. Initially, in my teenage years, when I saw him run in the 50s, he was a long-distance runner. We use that metaphor a lot for people who stayed on the battlefield, stayed in the war, stayed in the fight. And so what I have here, I have so many different anecdotes about Dick, but I will recite something that he said in 1961. His way of maneuvering the minefield of race and history, geography. He said, Delmar is the longest street in the world. Now, we generally call it St. Louis's Mason-Dixon line. It runs, he said, from Africa to Israel. And if you know anything about black communities and business and finances and the role of certain people in our communities historically, you knew what Dick was saying on so many different levels. That Delmar did run from Africa to Israel. I have a few little things I jotted down, the beginning of a poem. This is not a poem, but this is how a poet works. Dick Gregory was a long-distance warrior runner, long-distance organizer, long-distance man with a plan, long-distance lover of black people and those engaged in allied struggles, long-distance warrior, runner, organizer, man with a plan, lover of black people and those engaged in allied struggles. Love you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Redmond. You know, I guess y'all heard about Matt Law, right? Charlie Rose last week. All these people harassing these young ladies. Well, you know, they're not the only pioneers here. Years ago when KMOX TV, Channel 4, Mary Cannon was there. Stand up, Mary, let me see. Pioneer. Young lady was in the movie, but Denzel Washington. She has a point for Dick. Devil with the Red Dress, y'all see that movie?
Yeah.
Well, if you did, you saw Coffee Wright. Movie maker, poetess, and freedom fighter, Coffee Wright, just before.
Thank you. I'll make this brief because the poem I like to do is called the Juneteenth National Anthem. Okay, that anthem is written for us, by us. So that's something to stand up to. You don't take a knee to that one. It's said all over the United States. For those of you who are not familiar with Juneteenth, Juneteenth is America's second day of independence. It's when blacks fought for their freedom. Okay? 4th of July is when Britain gave whites their freedom. But Juneteenth is when we fought and won our freedom. The Juneteenth National Anthem is said in California, New York, Texas, Chicago, Milwaukee, everywhere. But we weren't saying it in St. Louis. I'm the organizer of St. Louis's first Juneteenth parade and celebration, 152 years this year. Last year was our first, this year was our second. And Mr. Dick Gregory was our first king of Juneteenth last year. He wasn't feeling his best, and Mr. Ron Gregory did come, and he actually helped me even put it together, and he accepted it on his behalf. So if you get a chance, Google it. But I'd like to share with you the Juneteenth National Anthem, and I am actually the writer of that as well. Can y'all stand for this, please? Thank you. Up anxiously all night, New Year's Eve, awaiting to learn what our fate would be. Thousands of prayers went up for the blessings to come down. Pleading to God, remove those shackles from our ankles now. Excited when it was announced, President Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. Slavery will be abolished, read that documentation. effective the year in 1863 in the middle of June. Yes, freedom, freedom, all blacks' freedom was well overdue. December 8, 1865, the 13th Amendment ratified abolition of slavery in this nation, cease human sales and forced labor on every plantation. Our ancestors' works, fights, and deaths should never be in vain, because from this day forward, we uphold strength in our name. Recorded no official date, so we acknowledge the entire week. Proudly recognize our independence all 7 days. Worldly recognize we honor Juneteenth. Thank you, everybody. I'm Coffee White, and that's right, I said it. Thank you, Mr. Greenwood.
Thank you, Coffee White. Thank you so much. It's just beautiful that so many people are attending this ceremony this evening. It shows a respect for Dick, shows a respect for the family. Zaki, Barudi, thank you for coming. We appreciate it. Assalamu alaikum. But right now it's time for family time. The man who inspired all these wonderful celebrations for his brother, the man who's been with his brother all his life, and the man who is responsible for tonight's event, along with Erica. And this is Stephanie. Okay. Well, anyway, would you please welcome the man who's going to tell you about the Dick Gregory calendar, Dr. Ron Gregory. Thank you, Betty.
They've got me so confused. I don't know whether I'm Ron Gregory or the reincarnation of Dick Gregory. Every time I put a big pork chop in my mouth, that lets me know you still Ron. I was at a meeting Saturday, and they were discussing the calendar. And a young lady came up to me and says, Mr. Gregory, would you autograph my calendar for me? And I said, yes, I'd be honored to. She said, would you autograph it, Dick Gregory's brother? So I said, sure. I said, do you have a sister? And she said, yes, I do. I said, what's your sister's name? She said, my sister's name is Brenda Jones. And I said, fine. And I proceeded to autograph the calendar. I said, to Brenda Jones' sister. Thank you for coming. Signed, Dick Gregory's brother. I figured she could refer to me as Dick Gregory's brother when I'm signing the autograph, and I can refer to her as her sister. One of the books that Dick wrote, one of the 15, was entitled No More Lies. He said, you will only see the truth when you start writing your own story. And that was one of the reasons we took the opportunity when we came back from Washington, D.C., to produce a Dick Gregory commemorative calendar. Because we said, if you're going to get a commemorative calendar about our fallen hero, we're going to make sure it's the truth. And we're going to make sure it tells the story of this individual. A person who a lot of people did not realize have been out on that front for 67 years. Because it just didn't start when he became a stand-up comic. It started when he was in high school. Back when he was running and they didn't let blacks and whites run against each other. And he noticed that when he would look at the paper to see the times of what the white kids had run in the races, His time was faster than theirs, but it wasn't in the newspaper. So he went to the guy who was head of the state NAACP, and he complained to them, and they allowed him to start running in the races. He became the Missouri State Mile Champion. He became the Missouri State Half Mile Champion. He became the Missouri Cross Country Champion. He ran in the big invitational race over here at Grand Marais State Park, and he was that champion. And I look back and say, here was a 17-year-old kid who bucked the systems that the coaches tolerated. When I came along after him, I didn't have to deal with that because he had already opened the doors. There were 11 public high schools in St. Louis. 8 of them were for whites and 3 were for African Americans. And all 3 of these schools were grossly overcrowded. And the students decided that they didn't want to tolerate this anymore and they were going to walk out. And Dick said, let's organize to walk out. Let's not just have the Sumner students walk out of school around Sumner, and the Vashon students walk out of school around Vashon, and the Washington Tech students walk out around Washington Tech. He said, when the Sumner students walk out, we're going to line up and we're going to march to Vashon. And at there, we will get with the Vashon students who have walked out. And then we're going to march to Washington Tech and we're going to get those. And with all 3 of these high school students together, we're going to march on the Board of Education. That was in 1951. Most people had never even heard of Dick Gregory. They thought this stuff just started when he joined Martin Luther King. No. It started when he was a teenager. He just carried his activism into his entertainment. There's a document, I hope we have time, that's called Unsung. And it actually tells the story of Dick Gregory. Do we have time to see? Okay. So we're going to play the unsung while we eat, but this calendar basically tells the story of Dick Gregory from the time he was born all the way up to his funeral. And our goal is to have 1 million of them all over America. So we will tell the story of our fallen hero. Not let them decide what they want to say. Dick, like Martin Luther King and like Malcolm X, warned the world that if you think it's crazy now, just wait. And sure enough, it's not crazy, it's super insane. So, get your calendar, get them to your friends, they make nice Christmas gifts. But what we want is we want this icon to be a lasting figure because he was doing our time. This is not somebody that we had to read in a history book. He lived among us. So with that, I want to say all you have to do is look around and see who's here. And you're not here because Dick Gregory died. You're here because of the way he lived. See, Dick Gregory had quite a few followers. And when you have a teacher, you're known as disciples because you're a learner. But when the teacher passes on, the disciples now must become apostles and take the word out. The worst thing that could happen is all that Dick taught us and all that he meant to us was buried in that grave with him, but we know better. Because we're going to keep his memory going forever and ever and continue to teach what he taught us. Because he's a part of us. He walked these streets. He walked this area. And he was an individual that anytime you called him, he joined your movement. Somebody asked me, he says, did you ever have to join him in one of the marches? I said, well, you know, when they was closing Homer Phillips, he told the family that he was coming in and he wanted to meet with us. Because it was, the time it was 6 of us. And he said, tonight during the march, I'm going to jail. And he looked at my older brother Press, who was a year older than him, and he said, you're going to march and you're going to jail. And he looked at my sister Dolores and he told her, you're going to march with me and you're going to jail. And he told my brother Garland, who's a year older than me, you're going to be out there marching and you're going to jail. And I'm waiting for him to say something to me, and he looked at my baby sister Pauline and he said, and you're going to march and you're going to go to jail. And then he walked away. And I walked up to him and said, wait. You haven't given me my assignment. He leaned over and said, I drove here in my Rolls Royce. I'm going to be in jail for 2 days. I need somebody to take care of my Rolls Royce. But he was some kind of individual. And he opened the doors for many of us. And the thing that was so amazing is he never asked you to thank him. He thanked you for helping him do what he was able to do. And it's just great. And I'll be able to talk to his wife with the plaque from the mayor and to be able to say, East St. Louis turned out for the fallen hero. So I want you to stand up and give yourself a hand. And from the Gregory family, we're saying thank you. And we want to thank Stephanie Miles. We want to thank Eric Brooks. We want to thank the elected people in East St. Louis for allowing us to be here at this building. And the people who have helped us put it together. And my buddy Caesar, who helped put the display together that tells the story of Dick Gregory. So let's get together and let's enjoy some repast, and I'm going to call the 2 organizers up and let them give you some words.
Amen.
Once again, I want to thank God for having this occasion to be successful. I want to thank you all very much for coming out and making this a part of your evening. Thank Mr. Gregory and everybody that was involved. And I want to thank East St. Louis for making this historical moment a part of ours again. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's really good seeing the city of East St. Louis turn out like this because, people say we don't care. But we can look at each other and tell we do. Thank you. And remember, only what you do for Christ will last. And Jesus is the Lord. The Lord be magnified. Thank you.
And we're going to have Pastor Granger to close us out with a benediction.
All right, let us stand together. Gracious God, we thank you for what we have seen and heard. We ask that you would put a special blessing on the food that we are about to receive, that you bless it in Jesus' name. And all of God's people said, amen.